Hello again, and welcome to the Stafford Connect podcast. I'm Tom Cohen. Today's episode will be a first of a two-part series featuring members of the Stafford County Fire and Rescue Department. If you ask most people about the Fire and Rescue Department, they'd probably mention firefighters and EMT personnel. And that's because most of us are not aware of the broad role that the Fire and Rescue Department plays in the quality of life in Stafford County. So our goal on these next two episodes is to raise that awareness a bit. To do that, we're going to talk with specialists in other areas of the department. On this episode, we'll talk first with the head of the Fire and Rescue Department, Chief Joseph Cardello. He'll broadly overview the department and its mission. Then we will talk to Captain Jonathan Hensen, who's head of the Swift Water Rescue Team. So, a lot to talk about, and I think we'll get started by introducing the Chief of the Fire and Rescue Department, Joseph Cardello. Thank you, Chief Cardello, for being on the show. We appreciate it, and appreciate your service to Stafford County.
Thank you for having me.
So first off, tell our listeners and our viewers a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am a husband, a father, a grandfather, fire chief. I've been doing this for 36 years, getting ready to start my 37th year. It's been fantastic. And, I live in the community. I'm just like everybody else. I want the same things. I want, good schools, safe place to live and work. And I guess really I'm just like everybody else.
Awesome. And so the Stafford sort of has this interesting situation where we have so many things that we have rivers on two sides of us. We've got the highway going through. So there's a whole wide area that the Fire and Rescue Department has to deal with. Mm-hmm. And so what are sort of the basic things about what do you think the mission is for the Fire and Rescue Department?
Sure. The mission of our department is simple. We are dedicated to improving the quality of life of everyone who lives and works in Stafford County. And we do that through, we respond to emergencies, obviously, and we help with whatever problem people are having, but we're also proactive in our approach. We do a lot of outreach, community risk reduction. That's really important. And you're going to talk to some people through these next couple segments who are very active in community risk reduction. So, it's kind of a two-pronged approach. We respond to emergencies, and then we try to get on the front end of it and prevent emergencies.
Awesome. So what's sort of the major commands in the organizations and there are responsibilities?
Okay. So in the Office of the Fire Chief, I'm responsible, directly reporting to me are the Emergency Management Division. You'll talk to Kim Orr, who is our Public Health Specialist. She's in Emergency Management. The Office of the Fire Marshal comes under my command directly. We also have the Administrative Services Command. So what they do is they have procurement. They're responsible for buying all the stuff that we need and paying all the bills and making sure that we stay on budget. They have the Personnel and Professional Standards falls under that, and that's dealing with hiring, promotions, making sure all the personnel actions are taken care of. Another really important part of the Administrative Services Command is the Health and Wellness section. So, we give, as you know, all of our firefighters, volunteer and career, we give them physicals. That's a pretty big undertaking to manage that program. So we manage that, physicals for when people join our department, and then also somebody gets hurt and, they have to spend some time off getting healing. When they come back, sometimes they have to have a physical to get cleared. That's a big program. Those are the administrative services functions and the support services functions. So think of support as all the stuff, the fleet. So we have a vehicle fleet of over 100 vehicles, fire trucks, ambulances, and support vehicles, boats. We have a couple gators. Information technology, as you can imagine, in those 100 vehicles, we have to have radios, and some of them have to have computers. We have portable radios that we wear during emergencies. And then there's we probably have over a dozen different applications that we use on a daily basis to get the job done, whether it's in the field, the emergency response personnel, or the office personnel. facilities. We have 17 facilities, 15 fire stations, a training center, and the headquarters. The fire stations are, on the average, more than 40 years old. So as you can imagine, that takes a lot of upkeep, and things go wrong. And we have a division that manages all of our facilities, our logistics. So when you are out on the street and you see a group of firefighters or paramedics, all the stuff that they're wearing, all the things that they drive, they have to be equipped. So our logistics division makes sure that the uniforms and the tools and equipment and, pens and paper clips and everything else for office staff too, they take care of that. And then we have the operations personnel. They're the ones that you see every day riding up and down the road on fire trucks, career and volunteer. That's what most people think of when they think of fire departments, but there's so much more to it than that. And, something that I don't think it's enough discussion when you're talking about fire departments is all of the administrative work that has to go into it. We have a phenomenal administrative staff. They answer the phones, greet people when they come in the door. We have people who process different report requests. And, if it weren't for the people doing the administrative work, the people on the street would have a really hard time doing their job. We also have, we're really proud of our CERT volunteers, community emergency response team. There's 50 plus members on that team, and they're from all walks of life. A lot of them are former or current military or government workers, and they have just a tremendous amount of experience in helping people and knowing what people need in emergencies. And you'll see them out if there's a fire. You'll see them out, handing out water to our staff, helping the families who've experienced tragedy. They're everywhere, and we are so thankful that we have them. Another group that doesn't get talked about enough is the chaplain group that we have. So we have more than I think we have 10 chaplains now, and so we combined with the sheriff's office. They had a couple, we had a couple, so we decided, hey, let's put them all together, and that way makes everything better. So our chaplain group, when we started it, the idea was, firefighters and paramedics, they see things that are tough a lot, and we wanted a way to just kind of make sure our people were okay, and who better to do that than chaplains. We didn't envision it as a religious thing, but chaplains have experience talking to people and dealing with people. So that's how it started, and what it has turned into is they still do that, but they are out in the community. Every fire, there's a fire right now, I have 2 chaplains there who are making sure that our people are good, but also that the family who might possibly be displaced, they have the things that they need. Anything that they might need, our chaplains are equipped to help them with. We also worked out a deal through our chaplains and our fire marshal's office with a local hotel group that when, if somebody loses their home, can't stay in their home because of a fire or a flood or whatever, we have a local hotel group in Stafford County that will put them up for 48 hours free of charge, no questions asked, any time of the day or night. And that is just that is a community coming together to help each other out. And that's I just can't talk about how proud I am enough of that work that our fire marshals and our chaplains did working with this group to get that done. So and then we have 240 career members. We have 150 active volunteers. We're a big department. So I hope that kind of paints a little bit of a picture, but there's so much more to it than just fire trucks and ambulances.
Right. Well, on the chaplain one issue, we had a fire in my neighborhood a year ago, and the people around where the fire was were just impressed with the chaplains and how helpful they were, and that to help the family that was impacted.
Yeah,
and it just is really, people see that's an element of taking care of the whole picture, not just of we put out the fire and we leave. It's looking at the whole picture.
And when people hear chaplain team, they think religion. This group that we have it's not a religion thing, it's a humanitarian thing. They will not come to you and give you pamphlets and try to convert you to anything or talk to you about anything that you don't want to talk to. They're there because they have vast experience in dealing with people who are hurting. So it made perfect sense for us to incorporate them into the team. And they are also just got certified to be a resource that the state of Virginia can deploy anywhere in the state who may need their services.
Oh, wow.
So, and they're the first ones in the Commonwealth of Virginia to have that designation. So we just couldn't be more proud of them.
That's impressive. That's really great. And before we head into the Swiftwater issue, you touched on it, but two large issues that face your department is changing technologies and training. And the training goes on basically every shift, every day. They're just always learning more, reading more, practice. But even the technology, I mean, the gear that was good 5 years ago is no longer being found to be as safe as it should be. And that must be a challenge.
Yeah. When I started 36 years ago, we didn't have GPS. We had a big stack of maps in the fire truck, and you had to flip through each one and, kind of find out where you're going. Today, our folks are, in seconds, they're getting a route to take that is generated by a device. Things have changed a lot, but, at the end of the day, we're still helping people. And maybe the way we help people is a little bit different, how we get there. But at the end of the day, we're just we're trying to do everything we can to help people as quickly as we can. So as far as technology goes, yeah, things are changing, but we're adapting. The training piece is, like you said, every single day our folks are out there training. And it's important because it's that old adage, you play like you practice. Our folks, they are so good at what they do. They're excellent. And a lot of that you can attribute to the training. I mean, you see right up and down the road, and you see them out walking around buildings and putting ladders up and pulling hose lines. And they're constantly out training so that they can be the best they can be when you call them in your time of need.
So. Yeah, it's amazing. So also amazing is the Swiftwater rescue. And so how did we develop into needing that? I mean, how do we tie that into just emergency services?
It's kind of easy when you think about the fact that we have the Rappahannock River that goes through the county on the southern end. For years, the Swiftwater team was here when I got here, and they recognized the need for some kind of intervention. They were having to go to the river, constantly to help people in distress. And our team, you want to talk about training. I mean, the amount of training that team does, thousands of hours every year. And the results are, they are clear. When we have a crew out at the historic Port of Falmouth on the weekends, when there's tons of people there, our crews make a difference. When we have a call to rescue someone in the river, our crews are out there. It would just kind of blow your mind how fast they're able to get out there, reach people, and help people to safety. You'll talk to Captain Hensen, and he'll give you a lot of particulars. He's the expert on this. But what I can say is that in Virginia, the Rappahannock River has claimed more lives in the last 40 or 50 years than the beaches along the Atlantic Ocean in Virginia. The Rappahannock River is treacherous, and that's kind of, the main focus of our Swiftwater team. They also, they can respond to floods. And we talked about the chaplains being a deployable resource. Our Swiftwater rescue team is a certified resource for the Virginia Department of Emergency Management to deploy wherever they may be needed, including in other states. And I think you'll probably talk about that with Captain Hensen. They are currently on standby for a deployment in Southwest Virginia. We had a lot of rain last night. I haven't checked to see, how bad it got, but we get, pretty frequently requests for service, asking if we would be available to deploy if the need arose. And the answer is always yes. Those guys and girls, they train so hard, and, the job that they do it's really dangerous. You talk about firefighting being dangerous, but swift water is a dangerous thing, and Captain Hensen will definitely get into that. But they do a tremendous job.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Chief. We're going to, in fact, now have Captain Hensen come and talk to us about the Swiftwater team and the various issues that they have to deal with, particularly on the Rappahannock. Welcome, John Hensen, Captain. Well, we appreciate you being on Stafford Connect.
Yeah, glad to be here.
So is there anything as we start that you'd like people to know about you?
I guess I could give you just a little bit of my background and how I got to be where I am and in the position I'm in. So I started as a volunteer in Stafford County back in 2004 at the Mountain View Station. So I've been in and around Stafford for a little over 20 years now. And I started in the career fire department around 2007. I worked in Spotsy. Ended up deciding that wasn't the fire department for me, so decided to go back to Stafford as a career firefighter in 2009, and have kind of been there ever since. Currently, I'm the captain at Station 12, and I run our water rescue program.
Right, and just so people who aren't familiar with the numbers, 12 would be at...
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
That's
That's
okay.
the Berea Fire Station.
Yep.
We're right off of Route 17, kind of near Interstate 95.
Yeah, near the post office.
Yep.
So you all, your Station 12 gets a lot of the calls for Falls Run, Celebrate, 95, 17. I mean,
it is the busiest station in the county. We've got 2 transport units, an engine, truck, and a battalion chief that all run out of there. And we do handle a lot of calls for the residents that reside in the southern portion of the county there.
Great. And you all do a great job having hung around you. So one of the things we're talking about today, and it's timely because as we tape this, it's the Monday after the events in Texas and the flooding.
Yeah.
So it's the water rescue program, because I've been very impressed with what Stafford has done. So first, before we get to the nitty gritty of the program, a lot of people don't understand that sort of the mentality would be the city stops at the land and the county stops at the land and who owns the river type thing.
Yeah.
So actually, how does that all work?
Sure. Yeah. So it's kind of interesting. Basically, where Stafford County borders the city of Fredericksburg, Stafford County actually owns the river all the way up to the shoreline of the city of Fredericksburg. And that actually took us a little while to kind of get hammered out, but we went and looked at the city's charter, and they basically define it as their boundary stops right there at the water's edge. And now when you get outside of the city of Fredericksburg, you go down to King George or up to Spotsy, then it becomes geographic center. So it's kind of a shared responsibility. And honestly, all that really doesn't matter to us in the fire department world. If people need help, we're going to respond, and whoever's closer and has the capability to do it is who's going to do it. So historically, all those different agencies have done all kinds of different responses on the river to help people.
Well, and so before we created the water rescue program, how did we handle issues on the rivers? And I mean, we're sort of sticking with the Rappahannock, but you also deal with the Potomac.
Yeah,
as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I guess we could break it down kind of by both. The Rappahannock, if you go way back, the city of Fredericksburg's fire department used to be who kind of handled all responses in Stafford County. And they were the ones that really started kind of with the river. As the fire department in Stafford grew, we got some volunteer agencies. The Falmouth Fire Station kind of picked up some of that responsibility. And then kind of more in the modern era, we're unfortunately seeing kind of a tapering off of volunteerism, and we're seeing a lot more population increase. A lot of people are recreating, in our waterways a lot more. So we've had an increase in a lot of incidents out on there. And honestly, there was kind of a need, and we didn't really have a lot of capability. So, probably about 10 years ago, we really started to look at that and then invest in it and try to build our capability up.
And so we're all in a relationship with the volunteers.
Yeah.
I when I'm talking state and local to my students is when Stafford became more of a bedroom community,
Sure.
and people are working in DC, it's very difficult for somebody to be a volunteer
Yeah.
working in the city to try to get down here in a timely manner.
Well, absolutely. And I could speak for myself too, right? Like the volunteerism was my entry point into my career. And for a lot of people in the fire department, that's kind of what happens, especially the young people, is they get involved in the fire department. They see it as an opportunity where they can go pursue a career. They get hired on with the fire department outside of their community or maybe within their community, but now you've lost, that volunteer, at least in the capacity that they probably were volunteering. So it just kind of tapers off, and we're just not seeing the massive influx of volunteerism that we used to. And I think, you're right. Like people just don't have a lot of free time to do that, these days.
Right. So, in relation to the water
Sure.
program, so the I guess the question would be, so about a decade ago, you're sort of looking at trying to do things and
Yeah.
what to do. So, did you all look at other communities, or did you
Yeah.
sort of
So
tailor it to us?
so it's there was a third party. So the fire department does training. I guess is a good place to start. Fire department does training in kind of a unique way. The state kind of mandates training for the fire department. Basically, all the entities have to meet a state standard. Well, in water rescue, Virginia did not have any sort of water rescue program that was state sanctioned. So we had to look to a third party group to do it. And so there was a private company that a lot of us used, and we started, pursuing training there. The city of Fredericksburg had some instructors that were able to teach that program. We partnered with them about a decade ago, started training some instructors, and then kind of built the program up. And then along the way, the state of Virginia developed their own program, which was honestly mimicked off of the other one that we had used. And now we have multiple state instructors, our own instructors that are sanctioned by the state to teach this program so that we can train our own people. But that's just really the entry point. So, I would equate that to like you going to school and you get, you take a certain class, and all right, so now you have this class that, you have a basic understanding of this thing. So the next step for us is we take you from this basic knowledge to a more advanced knowledge where we can put you in, extreme circumstances and you can have success.
And how has the program at large changed? And I know, and this we also get sort of split because
Sure.
there's certain resources you use for the river,
Yeah.
Rappahannock, and some you'll use for the river Potomac.
Yeah, sure. So the Potomac, I could talk about that once we've spent a lot of time on the Rappahannock so far. In the Potomac, we're worried about kind of different incidents. Obviously, bigger body of water, more tidal water. The flooding that we get from the Potomac is more aerial flooding. A lot of it's tide driven. So it's just a different animal. Motorboats are prevalent on the Potomac. We have a lot of marinas on the Potomac. So, the types of incidents that we are concerned about, obviously, is any sort of boat crashes, fires, so just a different animal. So you have to kind of tailor your equipment and resources and training to handle that. We obviously just got a new fireboat. They're utilizing that now. It actually, it was only in service, I think, a week or two before it had its first actual boat fire. It's run multiple incidents since then. And so, that is the call frequency is not as common on the Potomac, but a lot of the calls that happen out there are high risk. And can damage a lot of infrastructure quickly. So it's something that we have to invest, time, money, and training into to make sure that we can handle it. If we talk about the Rappahannock, completely different body of water. Obviously, it's a river. It has rapids. It also has a tidal section and is susceptible to tides, but it's smaller. People paddle it, people swim it, people tube it. The risk out there really is, people losing their life or getting injured, right? Like that is our goal. And it floods, and it floods fast. The actual, Algonquin name for the river, I'm going to completely mispronounce this, but I believe it's Lapahane, actually means a river that rises and falls like quickly. So, this has been a problem since, people have discovered the river. And because of that, we do run numerous incidents. I think it's pretty typical for us to have anywhere from, say, 60 to 100 incidents on the Rappahannock annually. So the challenges are a little different. But, we train our people in what's called swift water rescue for that. The water is moving fast, so they have to have special training to be able to handle it. We teach them how to swim. We teach them how to paddle. We teach them how to use motorized boats in that environment. And, over the years, we found what works and what doesn't work and, what will make us successful in that environment. And then, honestly, after we developed the skill set to operate in that environment, it was easy to kind of apply those tactics in other environments and then, add some additional components and training to really learn how to handle incidents elsewhere. And so the state of Virginia, probably about, I'd say 3 or 4 years ago, really started to look at wanting to increase their water rescue programs because we're having more significant storm events, more significant weather events that are impacting the Commonwealth and surrounding areas too. So we entered into a partnership with the Virginia Department of Emergency Management to become a deployable asset with the state, which basically means the state can call upon our team to go and assist other localities in the Commonwealth or to go and assist other states. So this is relevant right now because this is currently happening in Texas. We actually received a request from Texas, I think yesterday or the day before. It was the July 5th was when we received the request to send 2 teams down to Texas to assist them with the flooding.
Oh, wow.
And so, we are one of those teams that gets kind of caught in that mix. So that process for us is like we have to roster our team. We have to make sure we have all our equipment ready, and then we have to get approval from our fire chief, to leave the county. So we have kind of the mentality of, let's make sure we're taking care of Stafford first. As long as we can do that, then he'll, send us out. And so we looked at, the current tropical storm that's coming in and looked at the impacts on that, realized it wasn't, at least hopefully, it's not going to be significant to Stafford from what, we're learning about weather forecasts. And he gave us the approval to, go. And so
wow.
that's the first step is, so we tell the Virginia Department of Management, yep, we're good to go. We put together a package, just like any sort of local government thing. It's all tied to money. So we put back, together a package to send to Texas saying, hey, this is how much it costs for our team to go to you guys. And then they can choose to accept it. I think we were like the 4th or 5th team that, had gotten their stuff into VDEM saying that we're ready to go. And there's around 30 teams in Virginia. And Texas selected, 2 of those teams to go down there. So right now, Virginia Beach and Bristol are on their way down to Texas to assist with the flooding.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And what's really, I'm going to go many different ways on
No,
this.
you're fine.
But we haven't had as large a flooding incident on the Rappahannock for maybe 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, I think 2018 was
yep.
probably one of the last
and that
big
was
ones.
20 some feet over
Yeah.
where it's supposed to. So it's similar to what they're enduring in Texas.
Yeah.
So that people understand that is not impossible. That
absolutely,
we get it,
yeah.
and because of the way the rivers are situated, I'll say, it could rain in Culpeper or farther west of us,
Yeah.
and then we get all the and we didn't get anything. But
Yeah.
then we get all the water coming downstream,
Sure.
and impacts us that way.
Yeah, and that exact situation you're describing is what causes a lot of our incidents. We'll have people out there, just having fun on the river, normal day, sunny blue skies here in Fredericksburg and, in Stafford. And, in Culpeper, the mountains up there where the river originates, it's pouring down rain. And, they're not expecting it because it's great weather down here. And then all of a sudden, the water comes up and they get stuck and put in a bad situation. So, yeah, that happens a lot.
And so, I'll go back to that in a second.
Sure.
And one of the things that, and I think I mentioned that with the rain this summer,
Yeah.
the river has changed. So that when I was out last year and the year before,
Mm-hmm.
areas that everybody knew were more shallow, or this is the east spot where it dips, and so people knew, you all out in their kayaks and just swimming know where to keep an eye out, because people will be walking and disappear for a minute.
Yeah, I mean, so the area that you're talking about is a historic Port of Falmouth, and that is basically at the end of where, it's where the river kind of shifts to a tidal river. And so that's the downwash of, everything that's coming upstream. And so that's why there's that nice sandy beach there. But also, those sandbars change very dramatically in that whole section. And so, that whole area of river, and honestly, even the upriver parts, just when you get all that water that comes down, you get the debris and everything that washes down, it just changes the landscape. So, for us, we have to get out there pretty frequently just to stay familiar with it. But yeah, one of the things right away we noticed, the first time we went down there is, wow, this is different. There used to be this really big sandbar, and it was nice, gradual, kind of way to walk into the water. And now it's pretty flat and it just drops straight off. And there's a lot of current there too. So it changes quite a bit.
And you all have done an amazing thing. I think it was 2 years ago,
Sure.
or maybe last year, where you put markers up
Yeah.
on the river to help with rescues. Can you sort of explain
Yeah,
that?
sure.
Because that was phenomenal. It's so commonsensical.
Yeah.
Which is not a word, but it's so much common sense, but it is just really awesome.
Yeah, and you're actually going to see us take that probably a step further here soon. We're working with the city of Fredericksburg to kind of enhance that program a little bit. But yeah, a few years ago, we actually partnered with one of the conservation groups, the Friends of the Rappahannock, to put some mile markers out on the river. If anybody, that's listening to this or watching this, has been out there on the Rappahannock, especially upriver, you get above the city, like it's beautiful. I mean, it's beautiful, it's serene, it's peaceful. But if you don't know where you are, it's really difficult to figure that out because everything looks the same. To provide a little history on why that is, the land on both sides of that river used to be owned by Virginia Power when the power generation dam was there. And so, when ultimately, Dominion, I think, owns all the land or owned all the land after, I think they bought Virginia Power. When they got rid of the Embry Dam, they had to decide, okay, what are we doing with all this land? Because we own all this land to protect our, investment in having this power generation. So they decided to basically give the land to the city of Fredericksburg, put it in a conservation easement. And so both sides of the river, all the way into Fauquier, is public land, that is in this conservation easement from the city that is not developed. So you go down there, there are a few, but there are very few houses, there's very few roads, there's very few landmarks, that are close to that river. So when you get out there, you don't really know where you're at. Everything looks the same. Like we get 911 calls and we joke because people are like, yeah, I see, water, trees, and rocks. We're like, okay, that's the whole river. So we're like, okay, how do we fix this problem? Because we're getting these calls for these people that are lost. And one of the things we thought is, hey, let's, put some signs out there that might tell people where they are. And, we got that idea from the Shenandoah. The Shenandoah River has that system. So, it's not an idea we came up with. It's one we stole from somebody else. And we talked to the conservation agencies and the outfitters, and they were like, yeah, this would be great for us. It'd help us out a lot. Let's do it. And it's certainly been beneficial.
Now, I noticed way back when we all had Pulse Point, that the difference being from there was a situation on the river, and then when they put them in, how much clearer it was to know exactly where to go to get people.
Yeah,
which was really cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. The other thing that we were able to do with that really helped out was kind of build it into our dispatch system. So it's like once we had those, markers established, dispatch is able to correlate that now to a spot. And so rather than giving us kind of a generic location, when they are triangulating somebody's position based off of the GPS or, the cell towers that their phone's connecting to, they can give us a more precise spot where we could start looking for somebody. So yeah, it definitely has helped out quite a bit.
And you had mentioned that there's a number every year of a large number of instances on the Rappahannock that you all have to deal with. So are there any particular stories that come to mind?
Yeah, we've had quite a few. I could talk about a couple of them. The first one that comes to mind was last January, either last January or January before. Don't quote me on that, but it was a typical situation that we see on the river all the time. Get a lot of rain, and then we have some flooding. I'm sure, people are familiar, but we have a, pretty significant homeless population in the area. And there are some people that were staying on one of the islands in the middle of the river, and they did not realize that the water was coming up. So it was, basically the middle of the night. I want to say it was 9, 10 o'clock at night. It was, getting really dark, and we get a 911 call for somebody in the river. This is like right underneath Falmouth, the Falmouth Bridge. And I'm looking at the water conditions, and the river was basically, I think, 5 or 6 times what its normal, like water level is. And this was going to be an incident that we were going out on. That was the most significant water condition that we had. And so I was a little nervous, to be honest, because we spend a lot of time doing training. We talked about that front loading part, but we do a lot of training. We do quarterly training drills for all of our people on our team. We staff HPOF every weekend. Like, they get a lot of experience in the water. We're constantly out there doing training. But even with all that in my mind, I'm still like, geez, are we ready for this? Because this is, this is pretty high speed. And so we go out there with our motorized boats, and our first boat goes in, and there's whole trees coming down the river, just massive amounts of debris. And the sheriff's office was able to locate this person from the bridge, and they're shining a flashlight on them. We could kind of see where they're at, but when you get in the water, things start looking a little different. So our boats have got to navigate up to this person, and our motors are, in that particular boat, we run a 30 horsepower motor, which can run that boat at, around 20 miles an hour with 2 people in it. And they have it wide open, and I'm watching them inch up the river. That's how fast that water's moving. And so they make it up to the person. Thankfully, they're okay. They get them in a life jacket. They get them onto the boat. And as soon as they get them in the boat, they've added weight. So now that motor is, not as powerful. So now they're not really able to hold themselves in position. So we have another boat that's there, and they're kind of coming down river, and we have to send the other boat out to help them and help them get over. So we throw them a line and help pull them over, and great success story. Everybody made it out really well. But one of the things we learned is, hey, maybe we need to get some bigger boats out here. So that was one of the things that you learn, as you do this stuff, is you figure out what, equipment needs you have. And the fire chief supported us, and we actually just purchased a new swiftwater rescue boat that we'll be able to put in situations like that can handle a little bit rougher conditions.
Right. And that was a lot of water, but it wasn't even the bad one that we had.
No, exactly. That was,
so
it was 10 feet, and in 2018, like you said, we had over 20. So it's we were basically outrunning our motors, and we're like, okay, we know that this is a thing. And probably one of the most difficult things that we're going to have to do as a team that we haven't had to do yet, thank God, is, decide, are we going to go or not? Because there is a certain point when us committing resources to something is just likely going to kill them, right? So I hope that I never have to make that decision, but it's something that I want us to be as prepared for as we can, so that our people know what their capabilities are. They have the right equipment and resources to do the very best job that they can, and they have the training and confidence to do it.
And I remember there were a couple, the big one, but then a couple other floods, and I would go down and check the river area, and people because their GPS kept telling them that they could go down River Road.
Oh yeah.
And it took the chief ridiculous amount of effort to get the people in charge of GPS to stop telling people to go there, Harrow Road,
Yeah. It's those incidents are a few times a year. People drive into flood water, and their car stalls out, and they get stuck. And, that's just, obviously, if you're in that situation and you come up to a flooded roadway, like just we have plenty of roads in Stafford. You could go around. I'm sure there is an alternative way that you can get around. Like, save your life, take the extra 10 minutes. It'll be okay.
Yeah, truly. So are there any other, do you want to share anything else with people about what they should sort of look out for better safety concerns when they're heading towards. We can do either one because
Yeah.
there's and I always say the name wrong, but so there's the beach on the Potomac that we have. I never say that right, so I won't try. And then there's the Port of Falmouth, but then you have so many people nowadays that they're going out and paddling, they're going out and fishing, they're going out and smaller boats, and I mean, to one extent, we on the board were looking at trying to have more avenues for people to get on the Potomac.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because there's very few.
Yeah.
But then the more opportunities you have, the more things people really need to start thinking about.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think probably the biggest thing is know your limitations, know what you can and can't do. Have some sort of plan if you're going to go out on the water. And you could break that down as far as going on, the Rappahannock or the Potomac. We tell people, to obviously wear a PFD if you're out there. We haven't had.
Say what the letters mean.
Oh, I'm sorry. Personal flotation device.
Thank you.
It's a life
and working
jacket.
out at the gym does not qualify.
Yeah. So, I mean, I have been involved in the water rescue program for a very long time. I grew up, in swimming and all of those things. Like, I have complete confidence in my swimming ability without a PFD. I could tell you, even on my days off, if I'm in deep water and I know I'm going to be there for a long time, if I get on a boat and we're traveling, that the throttle is engaged, my life jacket is on because I've just seen too many things that happen outside of people's control that can get you in such a bad situation. So, certainly wearing a PFD is one of the most important things that you can do. To my knowledge, we have not had a drowning, at least on the Rappahannock River where somebody was wearing a PFD. We just haven't had that. Not that it can't happen, because it can. We just haven't had it. The other thing is be mindful of the weather. Both obviously, if it's going to be super hot, make sure you've got sunblock, make sure you've got plenty of water, make sure that you've got the things to sustain yourself for the day. But we just spoke about how this river can rise super quick. Summer storms roll in super quick in the afternoon. Even if you're out on the Potomac, the wind can kick up super fast. So it's always beneficial for you to get a gauge on what that weather is going to do. So look at the National Weather Service, look at the tide charts. You can get on the U.S. Geological Survey's website. There's river gauges on the Rappahannock that shows you what the current conditions are. And even if you're not familiar with what is normal, you can actually see a trend. So if you see it going up, right, like, the water's going up. Be cognizant of that and use an outfitter. If you're trying to go explore the Rappahannock or go see something that participate in something you've never done. Let's say you want to go canoeing or kayaking or tubing. Don't just go buy a kayak and think it's going to be the right thing that you need and go get on the river. Because, you might be in for a rude awakening when you get out there. So we always recommend go with an outfitter, let them kind of handle some of those logistical things. You can rent a canoe or kayak, see if you even like it first, and they'll steer you in the right direction. And there's a lot of great resources out there to go, find some of that stuff out.
And do we at Stafford County have on our website for the fire and rescue a link that sort of gives people some advice into that? Or
yeah, so there's a website called Respect the Rap,
okay.
And that's one that was done in partnership with our fire department, a couple of the outfitters, River Rock, the Virginia Outdoor Center, the big ones that are in the area, and the Friends of the Rappahannock. If you go to respecttherap.com, you'll see all that information. We actually created a float plan that people can use if you're going to go out on the river for any period of time. We recommend that you have a float plan, which is basically just a plan for you to follow, and you write down who you are, where you're putting it at, where you're taking out from, what your name is, what your boats look like, what your vehicles look like, and you just take that and you put it in your car at the takeout point. So, we know if we go to that takeout point and we see that in your windshield, we know that somebody's out there that we're looking for.
Right. And sort of a side issue, because you all deal with people, if something happens in the city, or you've even responded down in King George.
Oh yeah.
And then if there's, unfortunately, somebody does something to themselves, or if somebody does something to somebody else, the body that was thrown in by the gang members from Prince William many
Yeah.
years ago.
Absolutely.
That's the happier of the stories, I'll say.
Yeah.
But you all get pulled in for that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything that, kind of happens in those bodies of water.
No pun intended.
Yeah, we are the local resources that will respond to that stuff. And, like I said, our capability has evolved a lot over the years. It started out with us just, hey, we're going to go out there in a boat and try to get people out. We've got a lot more equipment and resources at our disposal now. We've got several boats. We've got a lot of technical rescue, like rope equipment. We've got ways to search for people in the water with cameras and sonar. We have a lot of stuff now, because our mission keeps evolving. We recently got some mud rescue kits because we started running a lot of calls where people are getting stuck in the mud, and that is a significant problem, that can happen. Like right now with, the river was just up, and it washed a lot of silt and debris down. And so those shorelines are very muddy and dangerous. And, like we had guys out the other day and they were telling me like, yeah, I sunk down to my knees and I almost couldn't get out. And that happens. We've had those calls. And so we have to have a plan to deal with that. And ice rescue is another one, it seems like we're seeing more and more ice lately. So, that is another thing. We sent some people out to get training. They went up to Maine and got some training on how to deal with ice rescue stuff. And now they're coming down and teaching that program to us. And, we just deal with all these different things and it's constantly evolving.
And one of the things that I've noticed over the years with the fire and rescue is that you're always training.
Yeah.
Not just your division, I'll say.
Sure.
But I mean, I've done loads of ride along where I just sit there and watch when they're not out doing something.
Yeah.
They are reading or studying or training it's just like a constant.
Yeah. We laugh because it's always like, hey, who are you going to call? And for us, it's the fire department. Like when people have a problem they don't know how to solve, they call the fire department. And so because of that, we've had to learn how to do a lot of things over the years. And when I started in 2004, the fire department was changed to a completely different thing. So because we have that need, we're constantly training on new technology and new things going on. And obviously, I said technology just evolves too, right? Like we have electric vehicles now, lithium batteries, that was probably the biggest one that, has evolved that we really had to learn how to deal with. And I'm sure as more things develop, we're getting these data centers in Stafford. That's going to be something we're going to have to learn about. There's a lot of different components that we constantly have to train on to make sure that we're ready if, these things happen.
I know, and we're veering away from water, but it starts with, you were mentioning the training for the water.
Yeah.
But it is just amazing. I went on a ride along with somebody who does inspections and just every business, everything. It's just phenomenal that it's just this wide thing that I don't think most people realize.
Yeah. And honestly, those guys that do those inspections, that's how we learn about, hey, they'll tell come to the firehouse and be like, hey, you guys need to go check this out. This is different. I haven't seen this before. And so we'll go and look at it and be like, okay, yeah, we need to come up with a plan for that.
And when you go, when there's a need,
sure,
you sort of have it in your database. Okay, these are the chemicals. These are this is what we have to worry about.
Yeah.
Which is just blows my mind that the parameters of everything.
Yeah, I am constantly learning. I've been doing this, like I said, for over 20 years. Not a day goes by that I don't learn something. And it's awesome. That's why I love the fire department so much. It's constantly challenged me over the years. And it's the greatest job I'll ever have for sure.
Now we have the great program, for the high school students to get into fire and rescue.
Absolutely.
So if somebody was really interested in doing something in the water rescue avenue, is there a certain path that they could sort of look at or think of?
So, for us, everything starts and originates in the fire department. So, yeah, you got to have entry into the fire department first. And then, from there, we have a lot of guys that come right out of our recruit school, whether it's the high school program or whatever. And they, come out to the field and they get interested in it. And our pathway is, pretty simple. We offer the training every year. So once you're in the department, you come to the training. And then after you do that, we ask that you maintain that training. So we have everybody go to quarterly drills and we make them pass an annual swim test. We do other training, different things throughout the year. And as long as they maintain that level of training, then, they're blessed to continue in the program, as the years go by.
Well, we've been very blessed to have you here, Captain Hensen.
Yeah.
to explain this and all the work you do for us, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Good talking with you.
Good. Always great talking to you. Thanks again, John. And if you hang with us, we'll bring you back in just a moment to talk about responding to disasters such as Hurricane Helene. But first, we'd like to bring back the chief. Welcome back, Chief. Captain Hensen brought forth a lot of information about the Swift Water team, but something that's really impressive, and you mentioned at the beginning of the show, is the work that we have in helping with crises either in other parts of the state or in other parts of the country. And so I know we sent a team, or you all sent a team, to help in with Hurricane Helene. But what sort of is the process? I mean, we're just dealing with the flooding out in Texas. As you mentioned, there may be flooding on the southwest part of Virginia. What's the process where we get to be involved or be helpful in that?
So it starts with a request by the locality that has the emergency, and they'll send out what they call an EMAC request. It's Emergency Assistance Compact. They will then pull, when it gets to Virginia, they'll contact all of the whatever resources needed. So in this case, it was the Swift Water team. And incidentally, our Swift Water team had, I think a week or so before Helene, had been certified to be a state deployable resource. So perfect timing. So the state will put out feelers to all the different qualified localities. And if you are able to assist, you tell them, yeah, I can do that. And then they'll put you on a list. And then they'll, however VDEM makes the final determination, that's how that process works. But I think it's important to note that when we send a team to North Carolina to help with a hurricane or anywhere else, we would never send a team and leave Stafford County without coverage. The reason that we are able to do stuff like that is because we have such a robust team. We have, dozens of qualified members who can, I wouldn't say they would be okay without a part of their team, but we have just the same capability when we send a team as when we don't. So,
and from my experience, I mean, the turnaround time and the communication with your people is just very quick and very sensible, and it's really just amazing how we hear that there's a crisis somewhere, and I mean often the team is already stepping forward and saying we can do this. The schedule, what can be done and what can be shared. I mean, we've had times where I was with you when you were like talking about this, and it's just to me amazing. It's like a chessboard of figuring out what can be moved and what can be done,
and it happens very quickly. The team, they know the weather, they know in parts of the country or the state where there's an issue or there will be an issue in the next day or so, and they're already making plans without getting a request. So that then when the request comes, we don't have to make the phone calls and move everything around. We know whether we can assist or not.
And that is just really amazing that, as we talked with Captain Hensen, I mean, the Rappahannock causes a large number of issues, and now Brook and Harrow Road area, and then just general flooding when we had a couple of rainstorms just this summer, the raining and the flooding. It's just amazing how with more pavement and more lawns, there's more water going to different places. So it just is really such a vital need of handling things. Besides, I mean, Hensen was pointing out that you're not just going on the water, but often what they were doing was going on roads, cutting the trees so that people could
creating access,
right, and help with getting people down for the emergency services to get to. So it's more of a holistic thing. It's not just, okay, we go when we get on the water and do it. I think we've seen this in Texas right now. And it was really amazing that with the rain that we've been having, that they reached out about, the thought maybe of being out in Southwest Virginia now. It's just amazing.
Yeah, they got hit pretty hard last night.
Right. It's as we were talking about, you get rain out in Culpeper area, and then we all of a sudden have the River Road flooded, because it's got to go somewhere.
A day or two later, yeah.
So we're going to go back to Captain Hensen so he can give us some of the personal reflections of what they did. with Hurricane Helene, and then we'll come back to you for sort of a wrap up as to where the fire and rescue department is going to be going in the future, and as also what other areas we're going to be covering in our next episode. So as we are talking about the Swiftwater team and their work with disasters and crises, we brought back Captain Jonathan Hensen because of his extreme knowledge and his experience in dealing with this. You mentioned earlier that y'all tried to get in to help with the Texas flooding. That's the most recent one. But last year in September, 8 members of your team, with you as the leader, went out to southwestern Virginia to help with the Hurricane Helene issue. So I know there's a bureaucratic way to get things going, like
Sure.
you said, but when it's that pressing of an issue,
Yeah.
how does that all work?
So yeah, I mean the governor was very forward, with that particular storm. We are activated through the Virginia Department of Emergency Management. He kind of gave them, the early warning, like, hey, we want to go big with this. We want to make sure that we have the right people in all the right places. So they actually pre-staged us for that storm. So we were there before the storm even hit. Again, we're one of 30 teams. I can't even remember how many. I think it was at least a dozen of the teams were all placed, in various places out there in southwestern Virginia, because that was where we were anticipating the impact zone, but the actual track of the storm wasn't certain. So we were all kind of spread out, and we actually started out in Tazewell, and they sent us down there, just to be there for when the storm hit. And we were there when the storm actually hit. And, there were some local issues there. They had some significant flooding, but it was pretty evident early on when that storm hit that most of the damage was occurring even further south and west of us. We ended up in the town of Damascus, and that's, kind of where we left off with operations.
And what was the severity of what you had to deal with?
So initially it was, obviously high wind, trees down, flooded roadways, and then when we started getting closer to where the bulk of the storm actually hit, it was just complete devastation. I've never seen anything like it in my life. I imagine it's like what it looks like going to a war zone. Houses, infrastructure completely gone, roadways completely washed away, eroded away. All of the power lines are gone, down. It looked like a war zone. It really did. And we drove through the town. Ultimately, we got given a rescue mission. We knew there were several people that were stuck because bridges had washed out that we had to go get from a mountain. And we had to drive through the town of Damascus to get up that mountain. And just driving through there, you could do nothing but just feel for the people that were living there and dealing with that. A lot of them had been rescued the night before. Here they are as we're driving by, just trying to pick up their life and, kind of resume some sense of normalcy.
Well, and I guess because the picture is probably going to be pretty close to what is going on. Even today, I guess they're having more flooding in Texas.
Yeah.
So if you're going to rescue the people who are up in the mountains, so you drive up in your vehicle, you tow one of your boats behind you.
Yeah, that's so, with that particular operation, we knew it was somewhere around 20 people that were stuck that we needed to go get. This was obviously a pretty large operation. We had partnerships with the National Guard, and they were flying helicopters over trying to give us recon. And we knew that we were, going up there to go rescue people. We were pretty certain that at least, one or two of those people were deceased. To kind of share a personal story about that particular incident. The area that we were going to is called Taylor's Valley. And so anybody that's familiar with like mountain biking, the Virginia Creeper Trail kind of runs right through there. And it's just an old railway that they've converted over to a bike trail. And it really drives a lot of the economy down there. There was, an elderly woman who was kind of described as the heart of that town. Her and her husband were in their house when the majority of the storm and flooding hit. And, their house got washed down the river with them in it. And so her husband actually, got washed out of the house. His wife was still in the house when this happened. She was basically in the second floor, kind of in the bedroom, as the whole first floor of the house got completely taken off and washed away downriver. And then the rest of the house just kind of settled along the shoreline, and she was, stuck in it, just waiting for the waters to recede and hopefully not getting washed down further. Her husband got washed out of the house. He went a couple miles downriver. She thought he was dead. He ended up clinging to a tree. And one of the helicopters saw him in the water and was able to lower someone down to him and pluck him out. Took him to a hospital. He was pretty beaten up. But the wife was still unaccounted for. The rest of the town thought that she was dead because they saw her house go down the river. And and then she thought her husband was gone. And so that was kind of the intel we had going into it was, hey, there were houses that were washed down. We know there's a lot of people that are trapped there. There were 3 bridges that got washed out. And we know that, at least maybe 1 or 2 people might be deceased that you're going to have to go look for. So that was our mindset. And then just getting there was super challenging. It was, maybe about a 5-mile drive, and it took us, I think, almost 2 hours to make it because we had to cut multiple trees out of the road. We had to get underneath power lines we weren't sure were live or not. Just a lot of really crazy things that you don't think about having to deal with that we had to deal with. And we went there with a couple other teams from Northern Virginia. They paired us up together because we have that interoperability, and it worked really well. So we were with Prince William and Arlington when we went into this town, which is the photo you see behind us here. And anyway, started to go do our search mission. Well, local law enforcement was there a little bit ahead of us. And, when we got there, we were all shocked that this elderly woman is sitting on the end of what used to be a bridge in a lawn chair, waiting for rescue. And so it, the mood changed pretty fast. We thought we were, going to go be looking for her. And thankfully there she was alive. We just had to get her back to shore. And so, we pulled all our resources between the 3 departments there and had to do some pretty creative things. But we were able to make 3 different significant river crossings. And ultimately, I think it was 19 people that, we rescued out of that town, brought them all down. We had to airlift 1 out that was, had a significant medical issue. But everybody else we brought to shore. And it was a pretty incredible experience. That whole town, was so close knit. Those people just cared so much about each other and about their community. Every person that we brought back to shore, there was a crowd that was there just kind of applauding and, cheering for everybody that, made it over. It was pretty overwhelming, honestly, to experience that. And once we had gotten everybody over, there was a small little cafe that, literally hours before had been flooded out. And these people, we'd been working all day. They wanted to feed us, and we're like, no, we're okay. We'll figure it out. They're like, no, we're going to feed you. So they pooled their resources on all these little stoves, and they, made everybody lunch. And, it was incredible. They prayed over us. And, we went on to go about the other missions that we had. But it was just, you got to really see the human side of people. In that moment and really just see how people respond in those, moments of adversity was just incredible that they all just rallied around each other and, really just looked out for each other.
I know it makes you feel good about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
On one level, you think it's no doubt I know y'all's job is really stressful and impactful, but then when you get those minutes, it's just really.
Yeah. And the other part that was cool. So on the way up there, the part I didn't tell you was the governor actually stopped by. So the guys got to meet the governor and that was cool. Don't get me wrong. But what was more awesome for them was we evacuated everybody out of that, town, that area. The National Guard loaded them up and they brought them down to the area where the command post was, which is where we had staged because we didn't bring all our vehicles up. We staged some of our equipment there. And so when we went back to go pick our equipment up, all those people were there, and they got to spend a couple of minutes, just with each one of those people that they helped. And they were giving everybody hugs. And I mean, it was just super neat for me to see it, because I knew how much it meant to those guys that were on that team that went down there. It was really, really impactful for them.
I know that's one of the things I've thought of when I've done ride-alongs is you go, you help people, and then either they're at their house or you take them to the hospital.
Yeah, and then
you don't know
what happens.
Through.
Yeah.
And there's always, and I don't do it every day, and I didn't do anywhere near anything useful, other than carrying stuff. I just couldn't fathom how you all just you invest so much emotionally into something.
Sure.
And then it's like, okay, now to the next situation. It's not even you don't get that closure, I guess. So for them to get to see those people is really awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and another thing that was really neat is when we got back, when we came home, the county did a really good job. They kind of had a welcoming party for us when we came back, and our families were there, which was super neat. But also, they were telling us stories about these people that we were helping, a couple 100 miles away, that were messaging the department on Facebook and thanking us for being down there and clearing, trees out of their roads. And so it was super neat to see that, right? That here we are, Stafford County, we went out and did this thing, and, these people that are in a completely different area of the state are seeing it and recognizing us for it. It was really cool. And, something that the county as a whole can be proud of, that is something that we could do.
Yes. Well, we are. I mean, we are very proud with all the work you all do.
Yeah.
And as we head into hurricane season, we hope you're not taxed any farther than you need to be.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. We definitely are trained and prepared for it, and, constantly learning and expanding our capability. And we learned a lot during Helene. That was the other side of it, is it's like, okay, it's good to do these things. But I think anytime we go into any environment like that, it was our first time doing something like that. Okay, what did we learn from it, right? That's the next phase. Yep. And so we did a big evaluation process and did a review on, okay, these are the lessons learned. One of the lessons learned was, and this is silly, so I'll share it with you, but we cut a lot of trees out of the road, and, there were a lot of hornets and bees in some of these trees as we're cutting them. And it's like, wow, okay, are we prepared if one of our guys gets stung? Because the medical infrastructure is gone in these areas when you go. So it's like, okay, are we going to be able to deal with an anaphylaxis issue if one of our people has a problem? So that's like one of the bigger things. It's like, okay, we have to have a plan to take care of our people for a little bit, if something like that happens. But there were a million little things that we learned, and we had talked briefly about just decision making and having to make decisions on, are we going to do this or not, and and you mentioned the pieces that could be mentally taxing, and that's another thing that we need to address. Is are we taking care of people's mental health? When they come back, do we have a plan for that? I mean, they're going to experience some pretty crazy things. Thankfully on this deployment for us, there were a lot of stories of devastation, but we didn't really witness, loss of life firsthand. We didn't have to encounter that too much, which was super fortunate for us because a lot of people were not that fortunate. So we even in a horrific situation, we had kind of a positive rescue experience, right? It could have gone the complete opposite way. And if that happens, and it will, unfortunately, because these storms are not going to go away. Mother Nature is extremely unpredictable. I want to make sure that we're prepared to address that. So that's another one of the things that we're looking at.
Well, and I've been impressed that one of my students I know, loads of my students do ride-alongs and whatnot, and He had his first person pass away on a ride-along that he was doing, and it was very traumatic. But you all have such a good support system already there that we're already checking on him to make sure. So as you said, that's an element that I don't think a lot of people think about. But it's very vital.
Yeah,
when you come
absolutely.
back, you get that decompression and that support network and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is we're a family, right? I mean, I spend a third of my life, at work, with my second family. And, we have to take care of each other. We have to have those avenues of communication. And ultimately, me as a company officer, that's part of my job, is to make sure that, I foster that kind of environment and that, people feel comfortable talking about that kind of stuff, and it makes a difference. I mean, it certainly does with people's career longevity and just everything else.
Truly. Well, you do a great job there, John.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you for going out there and helping with that. That hurricane response is different from what we usually think about hurricane response.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
normally you just think it hits the coast
Yeah.
and you're dealing with sand and such.
No,
and
and
this was different.
It was extremely different, and we were prepared to go to North Carolina once we finished kind of the big mission sets that they had for us in Virginia. We were looking at going to North Carolina, and the state was entertaining it. And then there was another storm system that was coming in. So the state was like, okay, well, we don't know what's going to happen. It looked like it might have the same kind of track. So they were worried about another storm coming. So they actually sent us all home. And at that point, I think a lot more resources from the western part of the country had made it out to North Carolina. So they didn't really need the help from us anymore, at least as the first responders. So, it was, that was a really, really crazy storm. And, those people are still recovering. That's the other part of it that I really feel like I need to at least mention is there's still a lot of devastation. I mean, the buildings were completely destroyed. People's lives, infrastructure, the way that they earn a living, was gone. And they're still rebuilding. They're still sorting through damage. There's still people they haven't found. So I would encourage the viewers and listeners here, to look at any of the Hurricane Helene relief funds that are out there and, contribute if you can, or, see what you can do to help, because they still need it, and we're getting ready to start another hurricane season. So, hopefully they can get things kind of remedied so that they're ready in case something else happens this year.
Yeah, excellent thought.
Yeah.
Really good advice. Thank you, John Hensen.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Glad to be here.
Once more, thanks to John and his team for all their hard work and keeping us safe out there on the water. And as promised, we'll close our episode today with a few more words from Chief Cardello. Welcome back one last time, Chief. So as we're wrapping up this episode, is there anything going forward that we'll be looking for in the Fire and Rescue Department, what we should be thinking about or acting towards?
Just the only thing that I would like to get out there is how amazing a place Stafford County Fire and Rescue is. We are every year we have a recruitment for a career academy. We are constantly seeking new volunteers. It's a great place to work and volunteer. So I would encourage people to go to their local firehouse, talk to people, and see what it's all about. And one thing on the volunteer side that I think a lot of people miss is they think that they're not young and in shape, so I can't be a volunteer firefighter. That's not the case at all. Our volunteer organizations, they would love to have members come to ride the fire trucks and ambulances, but they also have a huge need for bookkeeping and fundraising and membership and all kinds of things that it takes to run a volunteer 501c3 organization. So they need help from all different kinds of people. So just because you may be riding a fire truck or an ambulance isn't your thing, maybe one of the other ways that you could help out your community is.
And the CERT program is an excellent opportunity for people to help out. One of my favorite things every year is to go to all the various graduations. I mean, the high school one program is just amazing. The volunteer ones are awesome. It's just really nice to see the wide spread of young people, middle-aged people, seasoned people that come out to do things to help their community and see their family supporting them. And it's just one of the best things that I get to see.
Yeah, and we're glad for all the support that we get from our community who also, a lot of people come out to see those things.
Yeah. So speaking of happy thoughts, any good stories you'd like to relate? We usually end the show with a happy story.
When I got hired, a week or so before I started, I was sitting at home and they gave me an app on my phone that I could listen to the radio. And I more than once over the weekend, I heard a call get dispatched, EMS call, and I heard units, for lack of a better word, arguing over who was going to take the call because I'm closer, I'll take the call. No, I think I'm closer, I'll take it. And they were kind of that's always struck me because there are lots of places where people are arguing to get out of taking a call. But here in Stafford County, our people are so dedicated that, they're fighting each other just to be able to help their community. And, that's something that is really hard to teach. I mean, that just shows you the amount of dedication that we have. And I don't remember which unit it was. I don't remember if it was career or volunteer, but those are the kind of people that we have working and volunteering with us. And, we couldn't be more proud of who they are and what they do every day.
Yeah, it is amazing. They really are dedicated to helping us. And so are you. So we appreciate you coming on, Chief.
Thank you.
And we will look forward to our next episode, which talks even more about our fire and rescue program. Thank you again, Chief, for bringing us this information on our rivers and how we are preparing for the situations that arise. Our next episode continues with our discussion with Chief Cardello to explore further the services of the Fire and Rescue Department. We'll talk with Public Health Specialist Kim Orr and Fire Inspector Iris Franklin about their roles in the department. With that, I want to thank you for joining us on this episode. We do appreciate you and hope that you'll refer us to your friends. We'd also like to remind everyone that the Riverside Center for the Performing Arts and the Stafford Opera Troupe, which we featured in episode 15, have recently completed their successful performances and are grateful for your support. Until next time, I'm Tom Cohen, and you're listening to the Stafford Connect podcast. Stafford Connect is a Rivers Edge Media original podcast. You can listen to the show anywhere you get your podcast or catch the video on your YouTube channel. Stafford Connect, the conversation begins here.